All right, you guys, last video for the day. The last thing we need to talk about is surface area of prisms and cylinders. So as far as formulas go, remember we didn't really have a specific formula for each of these. It was more of a process. So we don't have a formula, but let's start with the first one, the rectangular prism. Now to find the surface area, remember you're finding the area of all the surfaces. So we are going to start by finding the top and the bottom. So I'm going to just say T and B, the front and the back, and then the left and the right. And when we have all of those pieces, then we will just add them all together. So let's start with the top and the bottom. The bottom of this rectangle is 8 by 5. So we would do 8 times 5, which is 40. And then times that by 2 since there's the top and the bottom, and we're at 80. Okay, then we're going to do the front and the back. So we have this rectangle right here, which is the front, or we'll call it the front. And that is 5 times 10. And 5 times 10 is 50. Times that by 2 because we need the front and the back, so we're at 100. And then we will finish with the left and the right. So that would be this side over here. Now that is 10 by 8. So 8 times 10 is 80, and then times by 2, so we're at 160. Finally, we will add that all together, and 80 plus 100 plus 160 ends up being 340 centimeters squared for the surface area. So that would be the area of all the outside surfaces. Remember, you have to follow this process, top and bottom, front and back, left and right. Okay, on to the triangular prism. So the triangular prism, we don't have all rectangles. We have some triangles in there along with some rectangles. So our process changes just a little bit. Remember, we have the 2 triangles plus, let's call it rectangle 1, rectangle 2, and rectangle 3. And we need to find all of those things and add them together. So let's start with the triangle. The triangle is here on the bottom, in which we need to do base times height divided by 2. So 10 times 6.1 divided by 2. And I'm going to use my calculator. 10 times 6.1 divided by 2 is 30.5. And then we have to multiply that by 2 since there are 2 triangles, the bottom and the top. So 30.5 times 2 is 61. Okay, then we're going to start with, I'm going to call rectangle 1 this front rectangle. Okay, to find the rectangle, we have to do 10 times 5, which is 50. And then let's do rectangle 2. Let's go with this one back here. And that would be 9 times 5, which is 45. And then finally, the last rectangle is over here on this side. And that's 7 times 5, which is 35. We finish by adding all 4 of these numbers together. 61 plus 50 plus 45 plus 35. So that ends up being 191 meters squared because it's area. Okay, so that's triangular prisms. Remember, we have 2 triangles and the 3 rectangles. Okay, then the cylinder, the surface area really ends up being our 2 circles plus the rectangle or the curved surface. Remember, this curved surface lays out to be just a rectangle. So if we start with the 2 circles, we have 2 times pi times radius squared because we need the area of a circle and then multiply it by 2. So that's 2 times 3.14 times the radius here is 10, so 10 squared. So I'm going to put that in my calculator. and you get 628. Okay, then for the rectangle, back in our notes from from a couple days ago, the rectangle ends up being the circumference of the circle, which is pi times diameter, times the height of the cylinder, which is 7 in this case. So we would have to do 3.14 times the diameter, which is 20. Remember, the diameter is all the way across, times the height, which is 7. So 3.14 times 20 times 7 is 439.6, and then we add those two things together. So if we add those together, 439.6 plus 628, you end up with 1,067.6 inches squared. Okay, so that was a quick overview of how to find the surface area of each of the different shapes that we've talked about. Now your job is to finish the last 3 problems in this quiz. There'll be 1 rectangular prism, 1 triangular prism, and 1 cylinder. But remember, we're now finding surface area. All right, after you have that done, you are done for the day. Thanks, guys. Test tomorrow.